Hello, everybody. My name is Marcell, and this is the final season of the Rant-A-Way Podcast, where we don't just talk about our favorite things, we rant away about them. I've got my co-host with me here today, probably for the final time, Money Green. Money Green, what's up?
What's cracking? Damn, I didn't know it was over. If I knew it was over, then I would have did something different. But
No, it's a season finale, not series finale.
But you said final season.
Yeah, if it's the final season, then it's the final season of this season.
No, that don't make no sense. It could be the final episode of this season.
But that doesn't sound as dramatic.
Yeah, but now you're making it sound like it's over.
Nah. Well, I guess I could give you that, because I do remember one time I was watching, I think I was watching Dinosaur King on Saturday morning, and they were advertising Yu-Gi-Oh's Dawn of the Duel, and I was like, oh, this is different, right? Because it's Egypt and they're fighting with slabs and stuff, and then it's Dawn of the Duel, the final season of Yu-Gi-Oh. And I remember that feeling different back then. So yeah, okay, it's not the final season. I wish it was the final season, but it's not the final season.
I mean, you could say series finale and all of that, but I mean, final season means
no, because if it's series finale, then that's it for the Rant-A-Way Podcast. That is this iteration of it is done.
Yeah, unless you're doing spin-offs or you got another show that's like Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. If they say, all right, this is the season finale of, not season finale, if this is the final season of Naruto, and then the next one's gonna be Shippuden, it's still under the umbrella. It's just a different, unless you're planning on doing spin-off podcasts.
I mean, yeah, you can take it away. B talks, B slides, Money Green ain't mean. It'd be all you though, I'm just over here working on my trophies.
Yeah, but then that's one thing, and then you still have to keep up the Rant-A-Way Podcast, so you'd have to do two things.
Not if it's if it's the season finale or series finale.
No, never mind. Let's just go before we run out of time.
This done confused me. Is this the season finale? It's the end of one arc. I'll put it that way.
It's the season finale. Yes, it's just not the final season.
It's the beginning of the end.
This is the end.
This is the end. This is the
We're
end.
In the end game. We're in the end game now.
Yes. All right. Let's see how long it'll take. So yeah, what's happening? What's going on? What do you bring to the table in our final episode for the season?
So, do you care to hear the backstory, or do you want me to just get straight to it?
Well, context is always important, so yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, originally, I was gonna have us do a fun topic. I think we'd do for a fun topic, I think. But then other discussions started happening, and I wanted to pick your brain on something. So recently, the game came out. I don't really think it's in your field, so I don't know if you know about it. But Mafia: The Old Country came out.
Okay.
And there was a big kind of discourse that kind of leads to it, because it came out and it was only $50, and then people were kind of wondering why a AAA game these days would be $50. So they was worried about it being all kinds of problematic in the sense of it wasn't going to launch correctly, or it was going to be short, or it was going to be missing stuff, etc., etc. So that would have a lot of people, on the edge. I'm a fan of the series, so of course I got it and played it and beat it. But a lot of people were complaining, or some people were complaining about how short it is. Because I think it takes about if you go slow like me, it takes about probably 12 to 13 hours of gameplay for you to beat it. For the average person, it's probably going to take about 10 hours, maybe 8 or 9. Or something like that. And if you go really fast, you could probably beat it in 5, 6 if you're really trying to just push. But so it got me thinking, because that's what launched a long discussion into the game world and whatever. And even into other things of entertainment, we go through it with this podcast, and some people go through it with shows and movies and whatever. I wanted to pick your brain on what you think is the perfect or the right length to make a hit game or a hit show or a hit movie, things of that nature,
Okay, before I answer that question,
or
what
things
was
of those nature, I should say.
okay? Before I tackle that one, what was the fun topic?
Well, no, don't worry about it. You don't get to pick. You didn't want to pick. You
No.
let the topic.
It talks about mafia, like, bro, I don't give a hoot about crime. Okay, let me see.
We're not
Um,
talking. We're not talking about mafia.
I
Mafia
know,
is just
but
what
it
leads
it it
into the.
spurred onto this bigger symptom. Let me see. So I don't know if there's like a certain hour threshold or limit that needs to be hit in this industry in order for something to be considered AAA. But if I'm
Well, it's
going
just
off
what you
of
think. What do you think?
okay,
What is perfect?
I
What is the right thing for you?
I think anywhere between 30 and 40 hours. But that's for me, right? But unfortunately, I'm in this position where I kind of have to speak in a general term for like the everyman. But like, I'm not going to do that because for me, right, God of War is going to hit differently from Horizon. A Horizon is going to hit differently from Cyberpunk, and a Cyberpunk is going to hit differently from, I don't know, Spider-Man 2, right? I beat Spider-Man 2 in like under about 30 hours, right? If I'm not counting the platinum, I beat that game in like under 30 hours. Ragnarok, I stretched it out because I really wanted to enjoy it, you know? So I don't know, every game just brings something different to the table, and there's so many variables and factors to it, like the IP, the game mechanics, the replay value, how fun it is, the combat, the control schemes, like that's the stuff that I take into account when playing a game, whether it's going to be the only thing I play every single time I get the chance, or if I'm gonna like space it out and work on other games. So like for example, right now, I'm doing Hogwarts Legacy for the story. I'm doing Kena Bridge of Spirits for the trophies, and I'm doing Stellar Blade for the story primarily, and then the trophies secondarily. But when I'm not streaming Stellar Blade, I'm working on um, its trophies and side content. I lost momentum with Kena for a little bit until up till yesterday, um, because Stellar Blade is obviously a much more fast-paced, fluid. Visually, it's a more prettier looking game than Kena, but because Kena is an animated game, where I think both are kind of like the same in terms of compat with like action buttons and um, equipment and all that extra stuff, but my mind's like I want to do Stellar Blade because I've got more of a momentum going on with that, right? And there's something about Kena right now that I just don't want to get back into, right? And then I ended up ripping a band-aid off, and then I started getting back into the work for Kena. It's basically a whole bunch of collectibles. The game has like I want to say a handful of probably 150 collectibles altogether. It's like up there with Lego Jurassic World, I'll put it that way. And when you're doing other things outside of video gaming, you're going to work, you're keeping up with your car that's in the shop because you got into a fender bender, you're spending time with your loved ones and all this other stuff, you probably don't want to come home and just start pulling up a guide to like find collectibles. So Stellar Blade was the easier segue into just getting into a game, and that's kind of what I go off of. I really couldn't tell you like why I would play Mafia over like Arkham Origins, or why I'd play Telltale Batman again versus starting a whole new trilogy of Batman games. It's just wherever you're at in your world right now, and whether you're ready to come into that or just start getting busy with it. Because if that wasn't the case, we probably wouldn't even have backlog. We would just start hacking away at everything that we got our hands on. But it's no strange phenomenon that someone will buy a new game and then not touch it forever. Sometimes it's just buying it and that's enough to just be like, okay, I have it, I own it, I'll get to it eventually. I still haven't touched Scarlet Nexus yet, or Sekiro for that matter, and I bought those two games when I was buying the other three for the week that I usually do like every summer. I haven't touched those two games yet. Just I was like, I have them in case I ever want to play them, but not right now. Just it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. Maybe it's more about consuming stuff.
Well, I think it's about finding the time. So just like again, it's not mafia is just the thing that spurred on the conversation because I mean we could have did it because of what's that again? Hellblade Setsuna 2 that came out and was like I don't
Man, I
know how
can't wait
much
for that
that
game
would
to come
cost.
out for free. Sony, just drop it.
But
I
I
know you
mean
want
that
to.
game that game is like 4 hours long. So you see what I'm saying? Like it's a discussion that's been going on for a while, but with the Mafia game, it's kind of like, okay, and they're good at, the cinematic. You could do it because of Telltale games or whatever, but I mean, like, everybody has different priorities and wants and this and that and whatever. Because I mean, like you said, you around 30 or 40 hours is good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I like the epically long games. You know what I mean? Like, give me like, epic length, pause, and like the
You're
time of the
safe here.
story
Stop
and
doing that.
and the time of the story, 50, 60 hours. If it's a good 50, 60 hours, people complain about Valhalla because they say it's like 60, 70 hours, but a lot of it is like dead space, dead air, filler crap, whatever. And then they say Expedition 33 was a game that really respects your time. If you want to get it done with like 10, 20 hours, you can get it done in 10, 20 hours and you don't really lose or miss much of anything. But if you want to dive into it,
Mm-hmm.
it's about maybe 30, 40 hours of content there. If you want to dive into it and find everything, whatever. So games that kind of like respect the player's time. And you being a completionist, being a 100%er, will look at it differently than me, who is kind of like, I guess I would have to say I'm a tweener now. I'm not quite the just, all right, beat the story to get it done. I go out my way because I let you 100%ers infect my brain a little bit. So I try to like get some of this extra crap done and maybe see if I can go for a platinum here or there or whatever. So I mean, it's different for me and for you and how we look at it, how long it's going to take us to finish a game or be done with a game or whatever. So we would have it differently. And then there's some people that just want to get on and beat a game in like 10 hours. Like, look, I got other things to do. You know what I mean? I got this, and we do too. We got work, we got family, friends, etc., etc. So it's not like we can just take our time and do these things forever. But I
Yeah.
mean, we
I would
get
say
get
make
on when
make
we
the
can.
time length of the game work for you, if you don't have 30, 40 hours to give in a single week, then you just pace it out. I want to say the game isn't going anywhere, but if it's a multiplayer online or always online type of game, then there's a chance that it might go somewhere. But if it's a single player game like Mafia and it's not connected to any particular server in order for you to play it singularly, then yeah, you just get to it when you can. I don't think that they should make a game around the notions of like how a trophy hunter plays it or how the average person plays it. They should just make it because that's what the developers have it on their heart to do, and then the player base will figure that out once they get it, and then they'll work off of that. And if it's a really good game, they're gonna find times to play it regardless. I remember when Marvel Rivals came out, people were tanking their sleep schedule to play that game because they thought it was that fun. So you just make it
So
work for
I've
you,
heard.
You mean so you heard? I'm
So
telling
so
you,
I've heard.
it's true.
I
I
went to
messed
the
up my sleep
I
schedule too
went to
trying to
the
play
no,
that
I'm
game.
saying I when I went to the bank, I went to the bank and I think I was setting up a account. And the dude who I was talking to at the bank, he told me, he was like, "Oh yeah," he was like, "You going home and this and that and whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm probably gonna go home and hop on the game." He was like, "What you play?" I was like, "Probably be easy to tell you what I don't play." And he was like, "Oh, da 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 da," they try to connect. And he's like, "You got that? You got Marvel Rivals?" I was like, "Nah, I'm not on it, but people have been telling me to get on it or whatever." And he was like, "Oh yeah, you gotta get on it because I messed up my sleep because of it, and da 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 da. I haven't been getting enough sleep because of it." And I was like, I see. So he's one of those that. But I mean, I've heard the same thing about Overwatch. I know some people who said, yeah, they almost messed their life up to play Overwatch, playing Overwatch or whatever. So I mean, absolutely, I agree with you find time for things that you want to find time for and whatever. But I mean, when it comes to certain things like that, it could be bad because you don't need to be neglecting real life things for your
Yeah, I would
entertainment, your
say I would
source
say
of
messing up your
entertainment.
sleep schedule will definitely be different from messing up your life. Like if you're messing up your life to do anything, right? Maybe reevaluate, but like, you know, staying up past your bedtime here and there in a single given week, um harmless in the grand scheme of things, but again, if it's starting to bleed into like other factors where like I'm gonna stay up all night and play Marvel Rivals, but then when I go to work tomorrow, I operate heavy machinery, right? Maybe you want to give yourself one more game and then go to bed. The game's not going anywhere, as my mom would always say. So just food for thought.
Well, I mean, you got all your rules that you taught me. You can't go to bed on a loss. and you want to
Yeah, but
double down with a win.
that's more of like the hive mind that we all subscribe to as gamers, right? Because like whether we like it or not, we're a part of the community. Um, and yeah, going to bed on a loss does suck, but it's just like you're gonna win more than you lose, and there'll always be more wins down the road. So like, just take the L, get some sleep,
Some,
wake up, and
some
feel like a W.
somebody needs to go to Overwatch that, because that don't be the case. They don't be more
Listen,
wins than losses.
that's unfortunately with any competitive game. Any game where you have to fight another human being that will adapt and think on the fly to your playstyle. Yeah, everyone's always gonna be like, yeah, I can't end on a loss, but it's just like, bro, who cares? Like, you're not even gonna remember that in like 2 years from now. So like, just put the controller down and go to sleep. You'll feel much better tomorrow. But then if you end up pushing past through that, then yeah, it'll make for one great story. But how many stories like that are you gonna have when they all just start feeling kind of the same? And you're like, yeah, maybe I should have went to bed.
Especially if you get tilted. Especially if you get tilted.
Yeah, don't get tilted, guys. Games are
But
gonna be fun.
But yeah, no. So all right. So the ideal for you is around 30 to 40 hours. For me, yeah, I like the longer games. I like the longer stories, as long as it's got good stuff in it. It's something meaningful stuff, whatever. Not wasting time running to one end of the thingamajiggy to run all the way to the other end of the thingamajiggy to make it take more time or whatever, which a lot of games do. But speaking of that, so timing is one thing, or the length of it, the length
Mm-hmm.
of the game it takes to beat the game. What do you think the elements need to be, or the right amount of elements need to be to make a hit game for the general audience, or the mass audience, not
I,
like a niche
I
audience?
guess I would say like good replay value, good game mechanics. Like if it scratches a brain a certain way, then I think that's gonna get a lot of people on board. If you look at like the Nintendo games, the Splatoons, the Mario Karts, like they're fun with friends. They're fun when played individually. Um, it's got good replay elements where even if you win or lose, you still feel like, man, like if I just try one more time, kind of feels like gambling when I explain it like that. But if it makes the person feel like they've got a chance at it, um, and the reward is fun for it, then I think that's what gets a lot of like just normative people on board for it, and really popular. That's why the battle royale genre was as popular as it was when it took off. Just had great replay value. You felt like you had a chance, and before everyone started building the Taj Mahal with a single bullet to the back in Fortnite, everyone felt like it was an equal playing field. But now there's so many like economies within the economies of just how people play games. You got the people who are like, let's remove all the fun out of it and maximize its optimization for just pure wins only. I guess for us it'd be like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, right? It's just like, oh, you got to play only these decks. You can't defer for them in any way. You got to follow every single card to a T. You have to follow every single combo line to a fault. And if you mess it up, then just scoop and go into another duel. It's just like every everything, right, has like its meta, and everything has its way to be played. And then there's just the group that's just kind of like, well, we just like playing it for like these elements, and like that's good enough for us. I think it just depends on who's in control of the narrative of like how something should be just orchestrated. And depending on who's at the helm of it, it's just like that's going to determine to the public eye or to just someone passing by whether that's going to be seen as something worth checking out or just not, right? Like My Hero Academia, right? You probably hear like all the horror stories about how toxic or crazy the fan base is, but like that has nothing to do with like how good the show is. It's just, unfortunately, there are some very vocal people about something that they like, and they have a interesting way of articulating that, and sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. So I think when it comes to just good elements of a game, if it's able to get a lot of people on board while still being true to what the game is set out to do, then I think that game's a hit. But it's
So you
subjective.
say gameplay mechanics and replay value, replayability.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say. Well, I mean, it's personal bias, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna agree on gameplay mechanics, but in the sense of how it intertwines and coexists with story. Because I mean, I look at games like, see, like you look at like The Last of Us, the first one. You look at Red Dead 2, or even Red Dead 1. You look at games like a lot of the GTA series, but I'm gonna say GTA 4. I could say San Andreas. San Andreas story was pretty solid. Um, and other bigger games like that, where it's kind of like the stories are really deep and the stories are like really good, and they really grip you, give you a lot to like talk about, make you want to see it, and then even people who heard about it, they got to see it themselves, and they make TV shows off of it. Well, they made a TV show off of Last of Us. But and God of War falls into that category too, where what is the one that 2018 is when it came out, the other one for
Yes.
PS4. Yeah,
2018. Yep.
2018. Because I don't know the originals, but yeah, 2018, and things like that, and it having good gameplay, whereas like gameplay in the sense of like it's not rushing you to like the next event. Like it has gameplay that shows off the world, that immerses you in that world, immerses you with the characters. You feel like these characters that you're controlling and that you're, making decisions for and being a part of, and the story is pulling you in. Like you feel like you're a part of that world and whatever. Because I feel like that's originally what it was made for, to like, make you escape the everyday that you're going through and whatever, and put you into something different. So now you
Yeah,
feel like
but
you're a
but you're not
part
gonna
of
be there
your
forever,
world.
unless you replay the same game over and over and over again. Which I know there's
Right. Well,
people
that's
out there
what I'm
that
saying.
do,
Like
but
yeah, the
it, it's
gameplay
it's
makes
it's
you want
finite.
to,
It's gonna have to end
play it
eventually.
over again, or you wanna stick there. Or when they come out with a sequel, you can't wait to go back there. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like, for me personally, that's what makes it like everybody's hanging on the edge of their seat to go figure out what's going on next in God of War Ragnarok. Or we was all hanging on the edge of our seat. I remember how crazy we was for when Spider-Man 2 came out. To, all right, we got to see what happened next, what's going on next. And it was like that with like the Batman Arkham games, and everybody's going bananas over what they're gonna do with the next Grand Theft Auto, and you know what I'm saying? Like these things like that to me is what keeps them real, then keeps them coming back. People have been playing, um, GTA for what, 11 years, 11 the same GTA for like 11 years, and
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
yeah, because it
you
has
ask
good replay
anybody,
value to your imagination. But how many people are replaying it again for the stories? People will probably talk to you about the
a
stories
lot.
of being like, yeah, like I
No,
played them here and there, but
a lot of people, because I mean, every time I go on YouTube, somebody's playing through it for their first time. Somebody's playing through it for, replaying it. Somebody's trying to speed run it. So
well, yeah,
I
you
know
got to
that
make
for
content
GTA
somehow.
5,
But
like yeah, the multiplayer and role play has taken off and gotten a big thing. But I mean, like the story mode still gets a lot of burn. You know what I mean? And the pacing of it, it's not really super hard. It's not really super long pause. It's not, anything that's too difficult to overcome, or whatever, but it's good enough that people want to see what it was. They see the memes with the whole, remember the whole Franklin and Lamar thing took off, and everybody was just getting on Franklin about that one scene or whatever. That meme blew up all over the internet. People went to go see what that was about, or this or that or whatever. So I mean, yeah, no, I mean, me personally, being a story guy, I
Mhm.
think that the story is good. A lot of people reach into it for that. I know a lot of people will still like, yeah, man, I can't get over the original, Modern Warfare 2 from the OG Modern Warfare 2 for that story. And a lot of stories, transcend over time, and stick with the people and make the people go back and see it again, or pick it up when it re-releases, or pick up the next one, or whatever the case may be. So I feel like if the story's a hit and the gameplay, like the pacing of it and the how it immerses the player in it is good, that they definitely want to go see what that's about and see what the next one's about, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so how does this tie into the Krabbies of Mafia?
Because people people were saying that Mafia was too short. It was too short. It had pacing problems. It didn't give you enough like gameplay. Um, like it was more cinematic than it was this and that or whatever. And that was mainly like that beef leads into like other beefs of just people wanting to just say, nah, it was no good or it wasn't, anything like that. So
So how
that's why I
long
was
is
being
Mafia usually?
usually around. So the first one that they remade and the second one go for about anywhere between like 15 hours. If you get all the collectibles,
If
15 to
you're
20
focusing
hours
on
if you
just the story, if we're just the average Joe
it's a it's
and
a
you're just
it's
doing the
it's,
story.
it's about 10 it's about 10 to 15 hours.
So the
It's
first
about the
Mafia
same.
game was about 10 to 15, the second one was 10 to 15, and the third one, the one that you're currently
The
playing,
third one, the no, that's this is the fourth one in the thing. The third one was an open world experiment, so that one's about probably 20 to 30, maybe
okay.
20 to 40.
And then the one that you're playing?
This one was about 10 hours, yeah, about 10.
So with the first two games being 10 to 15 and the fourth game being the bare minimum of 10 hours, how is it too short if we're going off of the other two games and then what people are saying of what makes something short? When the first two games, which I'm assuming were liked by a large amount of people, it meets 10 hours at least. And then if you factor in collectibles and trophies and um not role play ideas, but like if you're using that game for like content or discussion videos or essays and stuff like that, then obviously you're getting more mileage out of it. So like, I don't know, to judge it based off of just how long it is, um, it's innocuous at best. It's like getting a car for just what type of stem caps it has. It's just like not really important as to why you should factor in getting a car, but if stem caps to your tires are that crucial, then yeah, I guess you could do that, but it's only going to take you so far. So I don't know. I would say Mafia 4 um is in the clear, and it should be played.
Well, they're judging it based off of other things too. But I mean, the length of it was initially the concern because of the price tag. When you
So
see something that's like $50, you was like, what's wrong with it? And it's kind of sad that we're at this point now where we're like, man, if we're not getting charged an arm and a leg, we expect something to be wrong with it. But that was kind of $50. What's the matter?
right,
And
but
then
then
we
when you
started
do
coming to
get
find
charged
out
an
like,
arm and a
oh,
leg, you're just like, was it worth it? I don't think it should ever be worth it, but I don't know. I think people are in this era now where like everyone's got to be hypercritical of something. Everyone's got to be super duper critical of just every little aspect of it, and it's that one aspect that's going to tear everything else up within the foundation of the thing that's made. And it's like, listen, if the game was, you said 50, right?
yeah, $50.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if the game is $50 and it's that quote unquote short, even though I don't think it's short, but people say it's that short. Cool. At least it's not 80. And it's a 10-15 hour experience, and then people would use that to even double down on it. Like
Oh,
Sun
people
Wukong,
would
the
riot.
Black Myth
That was
Wukong
yeah.
game was probably longer than Mafia, and that game is like I think $50 or $60. And if we're going by PS5, it should technically be 70, but no, it's twenty
Yeah.
dollars cheaper. So like, if you're gonna harp on the price of something, then okay. If it really bothers someone that much, then like don't get it, or like just pull up YouTube, watch a whatever, and then go from there. But like I don't know, people. I just think people come at it from a very bad angle, and they are just purposely dispositioning themselves to be like, okay, what can I find wrong with this? Ooh, I'm gonna get it, and it's just like maybe try enjoying it before you tear it down. I don't know. I just, I
Yeah.
just, I
Yeah.
just think, I
That
think
is.
the bad faith criticism is very evident, when it comes to stuff like that. Because what you want the game to be 100 hours and then you're never going to get to the end of it. It's probably why like some people don't want to get into Baldur's Gate, right? Not only do you factor in just the random elements that the story could go in all these different directions, it's a dense game, right? Not everybody wants to just jump into it for those merits alone. Some people like having a clear, this is your objective, this is where you're going, this is who you're fighting at the end of the level, and then you rinse and repeat that with some twists and turns along the way, right? But to be
Oh well,
like,
it has that though. Baldur's Gate Baldur's Gate has that.
I'm sure it
So it's not
does,
like Skyrim.
but rolling a dice,
Skyrim is
you know,
literally just like
is
throw you in here, figure it out, whatever. Like you can go do whatever you want. But I mean,
right.
like
But the gameplay of which
Baldur's
one is
Gate
more
has the thing.
linear, like Skyrim doesn't have you rolling dice in order to make certain actions happen. That makes you want to save your file, reverse your decision, and then try it again. It's either you have save files
Yeah,
put off to the side separately, or you're just doing a perma run and you're like, okay, whatever I do is what I do. Whereas Boulder Gate's mechanics
right.
are a little bit differently. So the fact that there's just all these different factors, and then it's just like, okay, well, which one are you going to harp on the most? I don't like this game because of its time, but I like it for its gameplay and its mechanics and its replay value. And then there's some people that like, I don't like the replay value, but I like that it's short enough where I don't complain about it. And it has all these different ebbs and flows that like who's ever going to be able to figure that out, because it comes down to the person, I would imagine, of what you're looking for and where you're at mentally when you're playing these games. Like when I played The Last of Us, the first one, for the first time, I jumped into the hardest difficulty, and it instantly changed like just how serious that game's world felt. But when it was time to play it again, I was just kind of like, nah, I'm good. Like I'll trophy hunt it later, you know? But I enjoyed the story. The story was amazing. And the difficulty helped
Mhm.
supplement that as well, right? But here I am giving
Yeah.
its praises, but if that's the case, why haven't I jumped back into it to play it? Because like I've had my fill, right? I've eaten my food. There's a part of my brain that says, okay, that's enough. On to the next thing. But I might come back and eat it again. It it's a personable thing. But for someone to come out there and be like, well, this game is too short, and this is why you shouldn't like it, or I played it so you don't have to, I just think that's bad faith. And to a grain of salt, yeah, listen to them every now and then, but like to be like, oh, this is why I'm not going to play this game, or this is why I'm going to have a certain eye about it. Like, yeah, right. Like if I'm interested in something, genuinely, truly, I'll get it for myself and I'll determine where I go from there with it. That's just what anyone
Right.
should do, right? But I don't know, just
Yeah.
too many people with a mic, ourselves included, and just saying like, well, I think you should do it like this, and then there's just someone out there or enough people out there that just go, well, yeah, I should do what they say because I'm not gonna do it, and yeah, I'm just gonna go in for it. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's just very weird because when you're talking to someone about it, to the level like this or just even deeper, and it's just like, well, why do you feel so strongly about the hate for something? And then you explain it, and then you're just kind of like, yeah, that's kind of small compared to like legitimately big criticisms of why this thing was made or why it shouldn't have been made, right? Like whether it's an anime or movies or games or politics. I don't know. It's just like I feel like people just parrot too many other opinions and then try to pass it off on their own. And then when you press them about it, it now turns into like this second phase of a already pre-existing battle that you now have to figure out phase two in order to get back at phase one. And then just both people feel like they just haven't learned anything about each other, or they haven't come across the aisle to like try to like understand this new thing that they have mixed feelings about, but they like it enough or they're engaged with it enough that they feel so strongly to talk about it. So I'm like, let's tackle it from like its positives and then just work our way into the middle of like what I think this is and what you think this is and stuff like that. Like my girlfriend she hasn't seen the animated show Avatar: The Last Airbender, but she loves the Last Airbender movie, and I have never felt a tighter feeling in my chest to be like, I feel like objectively that's wrong. You know, like the Last Airbender movie is objectively a bad movie, right? If the director can't get across what they want to say in that movie, it's a bad movie. It might have really good visual effects, but these other variables to it, especially when you know where the source material is coming from, The Last Airbender is not a good movie, right? The same way Dragon Ball Evolution wasn't a good movie. But there's going to be those one or two people out there that's just like, oh yeah, I'll vibe with them heavily, right? But because this is a situation where they haven't seen where it originally comes from, there's a chance of like, I don't want to say education, but there's a chance of like, hey, let's show you this side of it, right? Because like this is where it's coming from. And if you like this movie, you might like the show, right? Now that's a little bit funny for me to say because like I already know that the show is just infinitely better than anything that has come out after it, and it's very hard to reproduce that lightning in a bottle twice, yet alone thrice, because I know they had that one on Netflix as well, which I'm sure visually it looks fine, but I don't know, trying to do the same twists and turns, but the people look realistic, I just think is a silly notion because, like, you can't capture that lightning in a bottle twice. But it's whatever. There's a reason why all of this stuff that we talk on hours about is under the classification of entertainment, right? It's not really serious at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, that's just how some people are. You know, they have started with this one thing, and through this, their bias of it is skewed, or they got into it because of this one thing. It was an easier threshold to climb, and now they're like, yeah, I think this is cool. You know, everyone's different. It really comes down to the person. You need to know
Yeah,
how the
because
person is to see how whatever they consumed has an effect on them, and then go from there.
she might watch the Last Airbender, the animated series, and she might hate it. It's like you told me with the Joker. Well, you never know. This could be the person's first thing of a jiggy to it, and that's their first experience with it, and they like it. So I mean,
Yeah,
hey,
I don't sound like that, but
she
yeah, I
likes to.
totally agree.
That's what you sound like. But that's what that is. This is the one that she fell in love with, the Last Airbender, the movie, and not the cartoon. To you, it feels like it's wrong. Welcome to my world. That's how I feel when people come talking to me about Arthur Fleck and nonsense like that. And it's like, yeah, well, at the end of
Yeah,
the
but like
day,
I
I
don't
guess
I
it is
don't
what it
hate
is.
her or love her no less because she likes an inferior
I
version
don't,
of
I don't,
something.
I don't, I don't
But
hate. I don't. Oh, inferior, inferior. But nah, I,
you'd be like, oh, there's someone
nah,
out
I
there in
don't
the
hate
world that likes
nobody.
the Joker movie, and it's like, okay,
I
like
don't. I don't hate any. I don't hate anybody that likes
this
the
just
Joker
in,
movie.
the
I just say,
world keeps
listen.
turning.
I say it's a good movie. It's just not the. It's just not the Joker. But then they'd be like, well, to me, Arthur Fleck is okay. To them, I guess Arthur Fleck is the Joker. It's like people who think that Ben Affleck is Batman. They're like, okay, I guess whatever. It's probably one of the worst representations of it. But to them, that's what
Right,
it is.
but
I
there's so
guess you know
but
what I
there's so
mean.
many to choose from. It's like, hey, take your pick. You know, whether it was because they were born at a certain time or that's what they came across first. You know, if we're going all the way back to like the ones from like your mom's time, right? Like I mean we've already beaten this horse to death with this example, but it's just like yeah, that's the one that she grew up with. And whatever was happening in the world at that time, that version of Batman gave her some sort of like social comfort, and she rocks
Is
heavily
the
with it.
Is the dude in the Last Airbender movie? Is he named Aang too?
No, he's called Ong, and that's like if
Oh,
they made the Dragon Ball movie and they called Goku Gaku. It was that blatantly wrong. That's like me giving you the answers to my test and you purposefully
oh.
don't follow the right answers. That's what the last Airbender movie was. And people
Oh,
who've seen
wow.
the show will know that I'm not crazy in saying that. It's a fine it's a fine
I know
movie.
that you're not. I know you're not crazy in saying that. I'm
Yeah.
just giving
Well, no,
what you
because I
what you
know there's
give me
people
all
out
the
there that
time.
will defend that movie, and they have every right to. But it's like if this movie's existence is only because it's borrowing from something that is just infinitely better, and while the movie is passable in some aspects, um, like the visual effects in that movie are amazing, right? It just sucks because they're hampered by poor choreograph, poor acting, and poor scene direction. But the movie has its merits.
I
It's just
don't.
unfortunately because you
I,
decided to call it The Last Airbender, people are going to automatically go, "Oh, this is supposed to be that, but in some photorealistic sense." You shoot yourself in the foot by trying to make it like something that came before it. But if it was just a movie about like people who could control the elements and that was it, yeah, it probably could be a lot more passable, you know. Avatar is just the blue people. Avatar is just Pocahontas but with blue people. But because they don't call
mm-hmm.
it Avatar a Pocahontas story, it doesn't put any of the attention on that. But because Avatar The Last Airbender, excuse me, M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar The Last Airbender, because that's how he named it, like he was that proud of it, he was like, I'ma stamp this. It's like, all right, man. And I think after that he made like The Lady in Water, which was also silly. um I think Devil was okay. The Happening was a good movie, even though they spoiled it a little bit too early in like the first 25-30 minutes. um but yeah, no, The Last Airbender just was not it. That movie was not it. If it was a movie that had nothing to do with The Last Airbender, it would have been a good movie with people controlling the elements. But because I know it's directly made because of Avatar, with all that material they had, with all those well-written characters that they could work with, they squandered all of it. And the only thing they kept was the name of the show. Everything else was bad. Subjectively,
I mean,
of course.
I don't know. I don't know, guys. Kind of sounds like me when I'm talking about Star Wars. Kind of sounds like me when I'm talking about all these other things.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, though. With Star Wars, Roy, you've got a TV show. You have multiple TV shows, animated TV shows, multiple animated TV shows, multiple live-action shows that came from the different movies. So you have like a smorgasbord of like, pick your hero when it comes to Star Wars content. Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? If they never made Korra, if they never made that movie, that is it. If you count those Nickelodeon games and maybe those one-off like books talking about the other avatars before the show really fleshed itself out and got its legs, that's all there is to it. They are trying to take Aang's story
from somewhere
and tell it in all these different ways, and it's like, you can't top peak.
Yeah, exactly.
Star Wars is different because Star Wars has enough of a world where...
No, that's what happened in Star Wars. That's what happened with it. But go ahead. I want to hear this. Go ahead.
Well, there's a difference of trying to take Anakin's story and tell it in 8 different ways. Right?
Well, no, because it starts with Luke. Remember?
Right, but okay, sure. Let's start with Luke. But Luke is 4, 5, 6, right? How many times have they taken Luke's story and tried to just retell it, but reinvent it at the same time?
Let me see. So you got Luke's story. You got 4, 5, and 6. Then you got 1, 2, and 3. Before they started branching off doing... Well, between 2 and 3 is when they kind of...
In really episodes 1, 2, and 3, the ones that everyone I think hates,
right,
but are like low-key slept on, is Luke the main factor in that movie?
This before Luke, 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3 tells you how Darth Vader came to be.
Now, this is what Avatar tries to do. It tries to tell the same story with Aang, even though we've already seen the story be told from front to back, how he was found, where he learned, where he trained, where he grew into. And then it's like, well, let's do that again, but let's take out like all the B-roll stuff in between.
So are you saying Korra's story?
Korra's different. Korra is her own character. But I know that...
What is Aang's retelling stories in? What did they retell his story in?
They tried to retell it. They tried to retell it with the movie, which was completely botched. They tried to tell it again in Netflix, which was better than the movie, but not better than the animated TV show. And now they're trying to do it again with an Avatar movie, animated movie, where assumedly they're all grown up and they're going on another adventure. Which is fine to do, right? Because he's already old enough. He's already, saved the world. He's fulfilled his destiny. But it's before Korra, right? It's like having a story about Minato, but you already know that he's dead.
Yeah, so they're nostalgia baiting. Okay. All
sure,
right.
they might be doing it to nostalgia bait, or they genuinely believe that like Avatar is their magnum opus, right? And they think that through that, just all these great productions are going to come out. But for someone like me, and I'm only speaking to me, if you love where Avatar Studios is going, then like more power to you. I don't hate you anymore for it. Oh my gosh. That's cool. But it's like Aang's story has been told. The fundamental concept of Avatar, where like every single life cycle has a different person taking care of the world's responsibilities of either the previous Avatar's doings or whatever's happening in their world right now. I think that's a cool concept. It's like an evergreen concept where you can just always come back to it. Star Wars definitely has that pool where like it can just take a character and be like, let's explain this, right? But for some reason, the way whoever's at the helm of directing Star Wars, or the company that's responsible for greenlighting the people to get the thing produced, they probably see Star Wars in one way and then just go, we're going to focus on just this. We're going to focus on just the Force aspect of the show. And we don't care about the lightsabers, right? The lightsabers are cool, but we like the idea of the Force more, or it could be flipped. But with Avatar, it's just like the story of Aang is getting so trite at this point that it's just like you can't top what you did the first time because you've tried it
done.
three
It's been
times,
done,
and it's hard to do because you already know what's coming. It's like trying to take Attack on Titan and then just be like, look at it from this perspective, and it doesn't hit the same way because what we got the first time was already just firing on all cylinders. I'm not saying
So
you
how would you
can't do
feel if
it.
they tried to? So how would you feel if they tried to take Aang's story and told it differently?
Well, it depends. Like, who are we following? Why does this story need to be told? Why do we need to see the same thing happening, but through another person's eyes? Now, they kind of delve into that with, like, Korra, because, again, Korra is technically Aang, because that's just her reincarnated, like, cycle or whatever. But, like, there are people in the world of just Avatar in both Aang and Korra, where people have been affected as a byproduct of the war being resolved, or Zuko being the Fire Lord, or Iroh dying. Like, they get into stuff like that in the show. They get into it heavily with the books, that I think Dark Horse Comics produced for a bit, and it's there, but because it's not animated or because it's not, live action, people just act like it doesn't exist, but it's there. The answers to your questions are there, but because of the material that it's done in, it's not good enough for you. But it's like, but it's there. I just don't understand. So I don't have a problem that The Last Airbender exists, or that Star Wars has like what 15, 14 movies and 3 live action shows and 6 animated shows. But like, it's there if you're really interested. I remember when I was playing Jedi Fallen Order, the first one, and I was interested in the idea about the Inquisitors, even though they were technically, like, the wind was kind of knocked out of their sails when Darth Vader showed up in that final scene. And even though it was a great scene, I forgot for a moment that Vader was like the overlooming force to the Empire. Like, the buck stops with him. But the Inquisitors are nothing to sneeze at either. And I was trying to figure out like more about like, how were the Inquisitors made? Where did they come from? And the fact that I have comic books and novelizations of movie adaptations and stuff like that to be able to get those questions, I think that's cool. But for some people, because it's not live action, or it's not in film, or it's not in motion, that's not good enough for them, and therefore it doesn't exist. I think that's ridiculous.
They want to explore it. Yeah. Because you're absolutely right. Because the Inquisitors, the Inquisitors, so the Inquisitors are Vader's people. You see what I'm saying? They answer to him. There's the Inquisitors and the sisters, and then you have the Grand Inquisitor, and the Grand Inquisitor answers to Darth Vader. So that's why when that sister that had the personal ties with Seer and Cal and whatever ended up failing, that's why Vader showed up. It's like, oh shoot.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, but because it was only seen in the game, and if you don't have any background knowledge on this faction of antagonists, right, your knowledge of it is only going to be limited to that game. And now that might be enough for some people. But for me, I was like, oh, I like the idea enough where I will play the game when I'm doing trophies or whatever, and I'll just have a slog of like Star Wars related videos to just, keep my mind occupied because I'm still interested in this world.
Right.
But when it's done, right,
they got Rebels, they got all of that. That's what
so it's there, but that Star Wars again has that ground level where it can have all these multiple stories. It can have all these different avenues. When you have a character or a story like Avatar told the way that it was told, and then you see it from beginning to end, you're like, dang, that's gonna be hard to top.
Yeah.
It's almost a perfect story of the hero's journey.
For you, the last Airbender movie for you would be like, what they do with the shows and stuff like that.
That movie was like flipping the cross upside down. That's the best way I can explain it.
If they was telling Star Wars stories, right, in their own, like Andor did this. Andor tells its own story in based off of a movie part, and it respects the source and all of that. That's why it's fine. Unfortunately, nobody really watched it because everybody's burnt out off of them flopping so many other things. But when you do a show off of Obi-Wan, off of Boba Fett, off of Ahsoka, and you just take the characters, you take the lore, you take the everything that the universe is supposed to be about, and you spit on it because you don't really want to make stories with these people. You want to tell your own, like Velma. You want to tell your own. You want to tell your own story, but it's not good enough to get traction on its own. So you go take a beloved character from a beloved franchise and tell your story the way you want to, using these characters to do it. But these characters are not themselves. These people are not, what they're supposed to be. What's going on in this world is not supposed to be. You're just using the world to tell your story.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what
and
gets
things like
people
that
frustrated.
won't stand the test of time. And that's why they fall by the wayside. The only time people are talking about Velma is when it's used as an example to explain why something shouldn't be revived, or, why is this being made? Does it warrant a reason to be made? Or it's just used as a footnote to talk about an even greater problem in that particular category. But Star Wars has the grounds to tell infinite stories. It's set in space. Between the things
Yeah,
that we have
and
on Earth, the two things that we have like the least understanding of is space and the ocean. So you can tell as many stories in space as you want, but if you tether those stories to characters that have already been established by whatever reasons that the story set up, then yeah, that is a little bit hard to divorce them from that. But at the same time, it's also what makes them timeless. There's a reason why Superman and Batman are like just these icons in just fiction, because what what would they do if they were faced with this situation, and how their moral compass is, or how they go about getting stuff done against the oppositions is interesting to see. And I feel like the same thing can be done in Star Wars, or has been done in Star Wars, but because movies have this sense of finality to them, and it's not like a show where things can be a little more open-ended or speculated on. In a movie, a character has a start, a middle, and an end, and if it does stay open, you hope that in the sequel they can continue fleshing that out, right? Like Spider-Man got his powers in the first movie and everything was great, but then in the second movie he's having a hard time trying to put his life and his superhero life in the same bucket, and it's causing him to falter out in each category.
hmm
I feel like Star Wars has the grounds to do that as well, but sometimes those stories are only as good as the director is able to put into play. That's why I still believe that Cavill was a great Superman, but he had a really bad driver at the wheel.
absolutely, because you have to respect the material. You have to respect the material that you're adapting, that you're bringing to. You can tell your own story. You see what I'm saying? But you have to keep the character. As somebody who writes fan fiction, as somebody who reads fan fiction, if the characters is not the characters, then you have an OC. You just named them the character that is belonging to the franchise. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the case, if you want to make your own original character, then have the balls to make your own original character and call it what it is and step out there and do that. Otherwise, don't take Naruto and make him Minato and then still call it Naruto. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You can't take the guy and make him a super genius, technically gifted at everything right off the bat and be like, yeah, this is Naruto. He's just overpowered. Then it's not Naruto because that's not the character. That wasn't the character at that time. You just did what you wanted to do. You slapped his name on it, and then you expect us to eat like, oh, okay, that's fine.
So what
No.
happens when that thing is made? Like what do you do after that?
What do you mean?
So obviously they have Star Wars stories out there that you're strongly opposed to because you feel like they've been hijacked. Okay, they're out there though. Like what happens now?
So you mean like the stuff like Obi-Wan and Boba Fett show
Sure,
and
whatever Star
Ahsoka and
Wars
all of that
movies or
stuff?
TV shows that you don't like, they're out there. What do you do now?
I watched it expecting one thing. I gave it its fair shake, found out that it wasn't what it was, and then I didn't watch it again, and I just moved on from it. People talk to me about it. I tell them how I feel about it. My problem with it is because it infects the brand, and
Mm-hmm.
then when they'll go, so see, I'm upset. I'm not, well, not really upset. I'm sad because Andor is a good show, but it's not getting the burn. It doesn't get the traction because everybody's like, oh, well, Obi-Wan was a flop. They messed that up. Acolyte, they messed that up. Boba Fett, they messed that up. They messed up The Mandalorian. They messed up this. They messed up that. I'm not watching Andor. And Andor's a good show, but now nobody watches it. And then Disney will use that and say, see?
This is why we don't try to stay true to the thingamajiggy, because when we try to do that, nobody pays attention to it.
Just like they did with they just did that with a game, and I can't remember exactly what it was. Um, Not a game, a movie. I'm sorry. Disney, was it Disney? I think Disney said, yeah. They were saying, you know that animated movie, what's it called, Elio or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
They
Yes.
said they was trying to say, Disney said,
Oh, this is why we don't make original stories no more. We just keep adapting things into live action or whatever. Because see, when we do an original idea, nobody goes to watch it.
and it's like nobody went to go watch it because all you've been doing is either turning live action into animation or animation into live action. So when you put out Elio in the middle of the summer blockbuster season, when people are getting ready to gear up to go see Superman, Fantastic Four, and Jurassic World, yeah, nobody went to go see that one. But now you're gonna punish us by not coming up with no more original stories because nobody went to go see that one. But they'll use that as the excuse. So that's why they'll be like, "Oh, see, that's why we won't bring back Star Wars for this and that or
Right,
whatever."
but
Because
like,
if we made a show like Andor, nobody went to watch it. But
but I
it's
feel
because
like
you
at the end of the day,
exhausted everybody.
we know that that's folly, and I feel like what's gonna eventually happen, in like 20 years, everyone's gonna turn back on Andor and be like, oh, this was actually good. You know, it's going to have its second win. Like that's just what happens when something is out long enough and you're just swimming for content or just something to pass the time for yourself, and then you're just like, oh, Star Wars, Andor, yeah, I'll give it a watch. And then, oh my gosh, this show is actually amazing. This show is low key slept on. Like, I feel like the same thing that was happening in our time growing up is going to happen in the future, but for the stuff that's coming out right now. And yeah, it sucks that you have to wait that long. But again, we didn't really know if the stuff that we watched back in the day was ever gonna turn out and be good. Like you just, I don't know. I think back then, right, we just couldn't gauge the market. We could tell you why we liked something, but to explain it in the level that these video essays do, and just these different characters and people with a mic to just really get into the nitty gritty of why just something is considered a quote unquote masterclass of cinematic whatever. I feel like you can only do that in your later years because you obviously are old enough to articulate why you like those things, but you're looking at it in hindsight. You're looking at it when all the things have been said and done, right? I still remember just those random shows that Cartoon would do with, like, My Gym Partner's a Monkey and Johnny Test and Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. Like, I think out of those three, I liked Whatever Happened to Robot Jones the most, but I don't remember much of it outside of just the art style, the color palette, and just how, like, it just felt like it was just put in those random time slots on TV where, like, not many eyes are gonna get on this, but people watch it, right? Transformers Energon or Transformers Cybertron, I believe it was the one with the 2D animated human characters, but the Autobots and the Decepticons were 3D CGI models, and I remember watching that show heavily. But can I tell you its premise from front to back to be like, oh my gosh, it's a masterpiece? Absolutely not. But I know that I liked it enough to remember it 15 years later. And then if I really wanted to do my homework on it, I would buy it out somewhere, watch it from front to back, and then be able to talk about it with the level of articulation that I have now, given my education, given my background, given the people that I've been around. But to be able to do that when you're a kid, no. We didn't think like that. And now here we are years later being able to defend or tear down the things that we liked or we didn't like. I feel like that's happening right now in this time, but it's with the stuff that we currently don't like. And there are like Steven Universe, right? Or Gumball. All the stuff that's coming out now, regular show, Amazing Digital Circus. Like, TV was so different, or excuse me, just making stuff for TV was so different back then because, like, we just had TV and the movies. That was it. And if you wanted to talk about it, you talk about it with your friends on the phone, or in our case, at the arcades, at church, or at school once the weekend was done. There was no way of letting that information spread as quickly as it was, whether you liked something or if you didn't. And if you did like something, 9 times out of 10, you kept it to yourself, or you found ways to express yourself about why you like something. There are people I know that hate the 1998 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, but I think it's a cool concept, even though I know that that is not canonically the Godzilla. But then when I decide to go, okay, well, let's see, why don't people like this, or why did this movie get a bad rap the way that it did? You start going from outside the movie to the cast, to the directions, to the producers, to the executives, to both the West and the East of how they approach this IP. And then it starts to just go into like this, oh, so this is why my opinion is formed the way that it is of it. That either in spite of all these things, I still like it, or because of all these things, I don't like it. But to say that I did that when I was 12 years old, yeah, I'm calling cap on that. Because it's either that or you're autistic. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But again, if you like media to that level as a kid, to be able to talk about it like people do now back then, no. You liked it and that was enough. It should just be enough to be like, I like this thing or I don't like this thing. You don't need to kill me and shoot me through the throat with a harpoon. If you genuinely don't like Andor because of whatever reasons, because you think someone literally hawked it up in their throat and spit on the franchise, then like, cool. Crazy visualization, but like, cool. Ride with that until you're ready to come back to it at a later point in your life. But now that it's out there, what are you gonna do? You're gonna see it for what it is. You're gonna give it its fair shake, and then be like, okay, I really didn't like it, right? You don't care about Jurassic Park, but you went to go watch it anyways, and you came out of it with either.
I wouldn't say I don't care about it. I like Jurassic.
Yes, you like it, but you don't like it to the level of Star Wars.
I don't like it to the level of you. No, I don't. I didn't read the books. I didn't dive into the extra stuff. No, I just watched the movie.
Right, you're watching it as just a movie, right? And that is good enough for you. For me, that's how I started. I still have my VHS copy of Jurassic Park with the case and all, and I liked that movie back then. Couldn't stand the human talking bits, but I got through it to see the dinosaurs do what dinosaurs do best. But then when I got older and I actually watched the movie with all those pieces in mind, and I was actually paying attention to certain things, or I started to understand certain words that I didn't understand back then when I was a kid, it started to form that opinion to be like, oh, that's really cool. Or I see this scene in a completely different light, you know? There are people who think Godzilla is a dumb lizard who can fly by shooting his breath in the opposite direction or swinging on his tail to traverse. But then there's people who are like, well, he's an atomic bomb, which is different from Godzilla was made as a direct response to a real life historical event. It warps your perception of the character differently.
The deeper messaging behind it and what it could be a symbol of and what the people who are making it are trying to say.
Right. Exactly. And I feel like those things can only happen as you get older. It doesn't happen all in one shot as to why you like something. I didn't like Naruto growing up, but then I saw episode 16 and everything changed for me. And then as I started to get older, I started to realize, well, like, why do I like this character? Or why do I like this show? And it just builds over time. But to be like, oh yeah, I've always had this opinion of it from the jump, and everyone's just missing out on it. And everyone's something. It's like, unless you want that satisfaction of being right over like a large group of people, you got that. But it's such a, I feel like it's such a ingenuous or poisoned way to engage with something that you're not really watching it for the sake of watching it. You're watching it for the satisfaction of being the one to watch it, or just being like having that smug satisfaction of trying to be X about something. And I just don't think that's an honest way of just engaging with something, because like the director probably was just like, listen, I need a paycheck. And they saw the material that they were working with. They did their best to their directorial skills as best as they could. And they made a product, and it just happened to gel with a lot of people, you know, but everyone just trying to find like the gotcha or the real evil behind it all. It's just like, it's just a movie about people in space. Like, let's just start there and then build up from there. But I don't know. I think when it comes to just media literacy and media criticism, there are too many people that want to see the fault in everything. And the people that do give it a chance and do see the good in it, there's not enough of them, or they don't articulate it at all. They don't go on YouTube. They don't make videos about it. They just talk about it with their friends, and that's good enough for them. And I feel like I'm in that camp too sometimes. Like, I don't talk about The Last Airbender, the movie, to just random people on the street. You know, it's just like, I don't feel like I'm a martyr for it. It was a movie. It was made. Okay, if anything, it's a fun talking point to get a conversation going. But I'm not going to be like, oh, you like The Last Airbender? I hate you. Like, your opinion on everything else must be flawed. But you know what's funny though? It is like that with people. That's why everyone feels like everyone's at each other's throats now, because it is like that. You don't like something, you get lambasted for it. You like Mafia, the old country, old town road, whatever. Okay, you must be a problem. There must be something psychologically wrong with you. And you're just like, this is just I don't want to say it's just a video game, because again, like you said, video games are escapism, their world, their imagination, their entertainment. But like, it is just a game.
Well,
but because everyone's
disconnect with them, because I mean, if you identify that deeply with it, that you're willing to carry your perception of a person based on how they perceive a piece of fiction or entertainment or whatever, you take a step back and you breathe, or you just disconnect from. All right, you obviously take your entertainment way too serious, where you're ready to jump at me or whatever because of how I think about this. So you should be with other passionate people, I guess, that feel that way. God bless you and your mental state, because you're probably going to be in trouble at some point in time. But that's when you just disconnect with people like that. But I mean, I don't also want to just brush it off like, oh man, they're disrespecting your favorite thingamajiggy that could mean whatever to you. Whatever, dude, just get over it. Touch grass, as they always like. At the same time, like, you have a right to be upset or feel frustrated or feel disappointed or feel sad or whatever you feel towards the thingamajiggies that you feel.
But but if it's in excess, or there's no limit to it, and it bleeds into other aspects of your life, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, don't go to jail over it. Don't crash out about it. But I mean, like, and then you just chalk it up. And then, like, that's when you say, after a while, you can grieve, you can be whatever, and then, like you say, back up your save file, and then go back and watch the version that you love, or play the version that you love, or whatever the case may be, and stay there.
Yeah, like, you don't, or no one in this case has to subscribe to, whatever a big corporation says, right? Like, I don't know, like, as crazy it is to feel like we're all fish in the same bowl, you can jump out of the fish bowl, right? It's gonna be scary, and you might creatively die, but like, hey, at least you made that choice. I don't know if you saw Elio, right? But everyone's saying that, oh, it was a bad movie, or it was actually good, but the marketing was terrible. It's the same thing with Elemental. I remember when you told me you went to go see Elemental, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, good job, like, you saw a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, to me, I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, it's another Pixar movie. But my reasonings for why I go to see a movie is different from, someone else, right? But to be like, oh, I'm gonna hate you because you went to go see Elemental and not see it, I just can't understand people like that. And I feel like if trying to understand that, you kind of like dip your head into like the mouth of madness a little bit, and it's like, no, like, I do try to always see the other side to something, or ask the other questions that haven't been asked, or just see the other side of something, and be opinionated on both sides. But like, sometimes I can't always take it from that angle, because I'm just kind of like, this is coming from a place of just bad faith. You didn't want to like this movie. You didn't want this thing to succeed, or you think that because this is succeeding, therefore something else that you like is compromised. That's why with the whole like Superman thing, I'm just like, like, it's such a nothing burger. They were probably saying the same thing with Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, the Supergirl movie, which was just, I think it was a bad movie, but like, the costume was cool at least, but like, the same way that we're having these criticisms now, those criticisms were happening back then. The only difference is that was done on radio, and for us, it's done through our internet connections. Like, game is the same, but the streets names have remained the same. Like, I don't know. I just get so over it sometimes, because I'm just like, it's really not a big deal. And at the end of the day, you can like something just as much as you hate it, and that's fine. Why do we feel the need that we have to, attack the person for that? I feel like it does come down to the person at the end of the day, because you listen to these videos online from people that you're probably never going to see. And then you go to people that you do see, that you do interact with, that you do engage with, that you do have to have a relationship with. And then you either regurgitate what you heard from someone miles away from you, and then you see how that goes, and then you're just kind of like, well, this YouTuber or this person that I follow or listen to is more right than however my friend put it. Like, the amount of times that I can talk about Boruto it should be studied. I'll put it that way. But I remember I was doing a Storm 4 game, and I explained it in such a way that was just like, oh my gosh, like, I think I would give the show a chance because of how you explained it. And I'm like, cool. What did I say? Like, I forgot how I explained it. But, like, I just know that the essence of how I like that show will always bleed through when I'm talking about anything Naruto related, you know? You don't need to say something the exact same time every single time in order to quote unquote win the argument, because that's what most people try to do. And that's not even just with media. That's just with anything. People always want to like one up you or be like, I'm actually doing this. I'm so busy. I'm so elegant. I'm so, you know, and it's just like, why has discourse become like this? I just don't get it. I think I don't take too much personal when it comes to that kind of stuff, because like I'd be like, yeah, you're just talking, you know, or this is just a question that you're answering, right? But I know that for like a large portion of the people, they take stuff personally. They take stuff way too personally, and they can't disengage, they can't cool down, they can't step away from it. They're just too wound up, and they have nowhere to direct their outlet other than the comment sections online.
Yeah, because people have become overly emotional, and you know that's why I said like overly tied. You know, like I get it. I get passion. Like it's that passion that you put in your argument, in your conversation about Boruto that probably convinced the people or that person to give the show a shot. It's the passion. It's how you enjoy it, because they're looking at it as like, nah, it just don't interest me. Da 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 da. And in a way, you can eloquently put something with your passion behind it, and why it's interesting to you, and why it captures this angle, but also has this angle, but also has this angle. They're like, huh, I never even thought about it. I never seen it like that. But because you're so passionate about it and you open my eyes to something different, I'll give it a shot. You know, you talk me into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that passion that helps do it. Because, I mean, if you just went and explain to them, like, Boruto's a good show, man. You should really just give it a shot because
Boruto's
I like
legit. Everyone go watch it now.
But if you thinking that like, then they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, well I don't even know. You don't sound too convinced yourself. Like, yeah, you have reasons, but I can't really feel you behind it. Pause. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they're not getting your passion from it. They're not understanding why you love it so much. But when you put that passion in it, you make your explanations, how you explain it and stuff like that. It'll convince some people to want to do it. I've done it with Batman. I've done it with, you know, other things that I was passionate about or whatever. You've done it with Boruto because, you know, you have passion behind that. Other people have done it with some of the things that they're passionate about. That's what it is. When it goes too far, when it goes unchecked, that is when it becomes a problem. When you're threatening, you know, people behind it, when you're cutting connections to people that you deal with day to day because they don't like what you like or whatever. It's like the hive mind. You know
it's almost like you're becoming radicalized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think, you know, going back to like the Mafia, right? It's just like, dude, if it's 10, 15 hours, that's even better because like you get to replay it even quicker. You get to it. It's like a roller coaster, right? A roller coaster that's too long versus a roller coaster that's too short. You tell me which one you're going to get on, you know? Yeah, so it's just like...
You get to go back in the line and think it again, yeah.
If you like Mafia and you hear people, you know, crying, like, so what? Let them cry. They'll get over it or they'll find something else to pick the bones apart. No, I'm not saying with you in general. I'm just... or you specifically. I'm just telling people in general, right? It's just like... I just feel like people just have this tight anchor in their chest where they're just like, I just can't sleep knowing that there's someone out there that thinks that, like, this thing is actually good and I need to tell people that it's not. And it's just like, man, you're doing this for free. Give me that passion. You know, it's just like, it's really not a big deal. You know, it's just, you're a walking endorsement. And it doesn't have to be that way. It amazes me that you'll go to like war with some people in like the Facebook comments and I'm just like, man, do that in my YouTube comment section sometime. You know what I'm saying? Like, go back and forth with me about Joker or something. Boost that algorithm. But other than that, no. If someone doesn't like something that I don't like, or they like something that I don't like, dude, I'll shoot the shop with you, talk about it, and then be like, okay, let's watch this instead. Like, it's not a big deal to me. It's really not a big deal to me. I can't. No, it's not worth it. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. So what was your fun topic? Just curious.
Don't worry about it. You didn't want that.
No, because you asked me if there was anything I wanted to talk about. No, there's nothing I want to talk about. What am I going to talk about? I'm the host.
I don't know.
I just
What I'm
host.
saying, you could have talked. We could have talked about whatever you wanted to, but instead we talked about this. No, I think it was gonna be I think I was gonna, because at first a while ago when when I started playing along, like in the beginning after we finished the last one, it was somebody was talking about what would happen if if Batman and Spider-Man, which like city or universes or cities or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and how would they survive in each other's world, or who wouldn't survive in the other one's world. You can make it think like everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, well, obviously, Spider-Man's got the physicality, and all of Batman's criminals is just, normal for the most part anyway, so it should be easy for Spider-Man. But then it's kind of like, nah, because a lot of Batman's villains, they're gonna attack your mental, like Joker and all of them, and then a lot
Well,
of
not
Spider-Man's
always. Like
things
Joker
is
will physically abuse you if he can. Like he beat one of the Robins to death with a
he
crowbar.
will, but
I mean, I feel like his
he's
physicality torture
actually,
comes with the territory
like
of attacking your psyche.
he's not even yeah, he's not even a good fighter. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when you get further in the Arkham games, like you'll see that a lot of the times they'll set you up for like a boss battle with Joker, and you just beat him up like a regular thug, because Joker's thing is not really the hand-to-hand combat. Neither is Harley or a lot of them. It's like
Yeah, but that's
most of his is
the
just like.
game's characterization of those characters.
But that's Joker, period. Like, he's smart and he has plans, even though he acts like he doesn't, and this and that or whatever. But you get him hand to hand, 1-to-1, right in front of you. I mean, you've seen it with and you've seen it in the cartoons when he tries to put him up and fight somebody. He always gets his behind kicked until he goes and gets a gun or goes and gets something else or whatever,
Yeah,
and
but
then
it's
he's
still a
doing
part of his
something
kit
else.
though. Like he's a cunning snake. I
He
feel like
has
I
it,
feel
but
like
that's
that
what
can that should be factored in if you're doing these stories
it,
where like what would they do if this person was in this world? They're
That's what I
fun,
said. But
but
Spider-Man easily washes Joker hand. If he gets him hand to hand, then that's an easy win. If Batman gets him hand to hand, that's an easy win. But hand to hand is not really his forte, and he knows that. So him going hand to hand is probably to lure you into some false sense of security, like the Riddler, like all of them. They're not hand to hand specialists. Now, if you're
Spider-Man would
fighting
just talk them to
Deathstroke,
death. One guy who makes jokes and one guy who makes quips.
if you're fighting Bane, that's what somebody said. They said that, yeah, Joker. But Joker would get frustrated because Spider-Man would be trying to make jokes and Joker's trying to make jokes, so he ain't gonna like that too much. But yeah.
Oh man. Okay, that would have been a topic.
But yeah, no, that was the thing. But you could take us home. A little bit over an
Really?
hour.
That's it?
Yep.
You're lying.
No, I'm not. I'm dead serious.
So
You're on
today,
your time now, player.
so today's final episode was about mafia, but it was really about the social conditioning of talking to people and the friends you make along the way.
I was about to say that. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Well,
Beautifully put.
we've been leading up to this, I guess. To go from the Superman or the summer movie recap to this, gotta think of a thumbnail for this one. At 2:27 p.m., the Bible said it was oh so early in the afternoon. And you gotta take a deep breath. Say it with me. Stay happy, stay healthy. Please don't do anything we wouldn't do, except kind of wish we talked about the fun one first instead of this Debbie Downer of just you don't like the thing that I like and therefore I hate you. But always keep on being creative. And maybe we'll see you in season 3 if Money can have 7 topics to talk about. I've been Marcell.
This has been Money Green.
And you guys have been sitting, listening to us for quite some time. I commend you and I applaud you. Money, do you do the same?
Of course. Always.
Even if they like the Joker movie?
Even if they like the Joker.
Nice.
And the second one, too.
Nice. Got him on record. Take care, good day, and God bless. Bye. You're
time of the
safe here.
story
Stop
and-
doing that.